Want to just make a small change from the old Emonda. So we had a clean sheet design. We tried everything that we thought might work. Lots of different concepts that we narrowed down looking at aerodynamics and structures. Once we narrowed that down a little bit, we got our initial concept and entered the detailed design phase of the project, which was where I did a lot of detailed CFD, computational fluid dynamics, on that initial design, and kind of ran through the flow visualization with a comb to see where the areas of opportunity are. Where do we put the highlight lines? How deep do we have the tubes? Things like that. So after that detailed design phase, we've kind of locked down where we are in the geometry, where we have features like highlight lines and how deep tubes are, but the tube shaping themselves, that's really where HEEDS shines, and so that's the final phase of our design process.
And then what is HEEDS?
It's a software that connects all of our different engineering software, so it connects my CFD, it combines that with our structures, it has an optimization algorithm that connects these different analyses and tracks them onto that ideal blend of weight and aero, instead of me trying to do this manually with our structures team where, you know, I say, okay, this design is 10% faster, but the structures team then says it's 100 grams heavier. Well, then they have some recommendations which screw up my aero, and we kind of go back and forth. The optimization software helps track directly onto that most efficient path that we calculated in the roadmap.
Okay, cool. And so is this something that can just run on your laptop at work, or is there a lot more computing power behind this?
So yeah, we have I guess you could say a supercomputer. We also, for really high computationally intensive cases, we will burst to the cloud. So okay. That's what we'll use for things like unsteady aerodynamics. Unsteady aerodynamics is particularly important for a bike like the Emonda because you're riding slower. Your riding speed is almost as fast as the gust that's coming in, which creates a limited time disturbance that propagates down. So you have to look at that unsteady aerodynamics, which is kind of an order of magnitude harder to solve computationally.
So are you saying the Emonda is more optimized for climbing aerodynamics? Would you say that?
Right, that's why we focused on unsteady aerodynamics. For something like speed concept, unsteady aerodynamics will be important if you're riding in very heavily gusty conditions, but not as important as if you are on a bike with much shallower tube shapes and when you're going slower with more wind coming at you. All those three things create the recipe for unsteady aerodynamics, and you see all those three things in a climbing scenario. So that's why we really focused on it for Emonda.
Okay, awesome. And can you point out some specific examples of how we actually tweak these tube shapes, both through CFD and HEEDS?
Yeah, so we kind of started from front to back because there's the most area of opportunity in the front before the airflow gets churned up by the legs and all the different turbulence from the tube shapes. We spent a lot of time on the highlight lines and the head tube, making sure those straighten the flow out and were aerodynamic. In particular, the down tube, we spent a lot of time in HEEDS on. It's a really good candidate for optimization. So at the top of the down tube, you've got the rim and tire that are influencing the aerodynamics on the down tube. So that's a different scenario than right here, where you've still got a wheel in front of you, but the rim and the tire, they're further away. So you've got more time for the flow to straighten out at the nose. And then often you'll have a bottle, so we ran with and without a bottle. And that created a slightly different shape in this section of the down tube than this section. And so you see that in a lot of areas on the bike. The other part of the bike that we spent a lot of time on for aerodynamics is the bar stem. And the bar stem has a lot of aerodynamics baked in, but also trying to balance out the ergonomics and the structures, obviously. So We had started with our camtail shape on the tops of the bar, but the camtail shape isn't really that comfortable to grab because you've got kind of a hard edge in the back. So we increased the radius there, but ended up with, I think, a really good shape that blends all three of those. And so it's a really fast bar stem.
Cool. Yeah, I can say, having ridden it, that I find it to be pretty comfortable, and it feels like it struck that balance really well.
Awesome.
What's the science and the math we can put behind, what we've delivered here?
The new Emonda was about 180 grams faster in the wind tunnel at pretty high speeds. That's going to be about 18 watts. And then in terms of time savings on a flat surface, that's about 60 seconds per hour faster. And then with our Alpe d'Huez target, that was about 18 seconds per hour faster of Alpe d'Huez.
So that's a huge margin for
Right.
you, especially you consider a racer on Alpe d'Huez finishing 6 seconds behind the leader or 12 seconds in front is
Right.
huge.
Yeah, seconds definitely matter in that scenario. So.
Awesome. And so for someone who's not a professional, who's not going to win the tour stage up the Alpe, how much aerodynamic savings and impact will they see on this new bike?
Right, so if you think about it, the slower you ride, the more opportunity you have for aerodynamic improvements. The other thing that helps with this bike in particular is that it is a climbing bike. It is optimized for speeds that aren't necessarily that 45K, and so a climbing bike is nice for that regime of aerodynamics.
Awesome. So you're saying this is faster for pros, but maybe fastest for the average person?
Right. I mean, I ride an Emonda, so this will be fastest for someone like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you getting a new bike?
Yeah. Can you hook me up?
See what we can do.
Okay.
Thanks for that awesome overview of the development, and congratulations on really some huge success here. I mean, 180 grams of aerodynamic benefit saved is massive, and putting that perspective of a minute per hour on the flats is really remarkable. So nice job there.
Thank you.